Hey everybody, welcome to Monday Night Live in Lexington, you guys. My name is Catherine Kaufman, and I'm a psychic medium here in Lexington, Kentucky. Welcome to my every Monday night live show here on Facebook, Monday Night Live in Lexington. Shout out to Instagram and both my pages of Facebook. Hey to Melissa, George, and Wendy. Thanks for joining me. And Trina and Samantha. Nice to see you guys tonight. Tonight is a special episode. This is going to be part 2 of how to find your vocation and soul purpose. If you want to see part 1, which we're going to recap a little bit of part 1, but if you want to see the complete show of part 1, I will leave a link to my TV channel on Facebook and to my YouTube channel as well, because it's loaded up on both of those platforms. Hey to Brenda, Joe, Victoria, and Wes. Special shout out to Wes and a kiss. Thanks for all the hearts and stuff. If you guys are viewing on the TV channel, and that is Catherine Kaufman Psychic Medium TV, you won't be able to join the live chat unless you hop over to my personal page, just Catherine Kaufman. So if you want to chat, come on over here, or if you want to just hang out and watch on the TV channel, just chill and watch. Hey to Melissa Arthur Woosley. So and Ricky Elkins and Leanne, thanks for joining me tonight. Let's recap on a little bit of part 1. I don't want to go over the whole stuff of part 1, but I think we need to go over the difference between a job, a career, and a vocation or calling or soul purpose. So the job, let's discuss what the job is. Hey to Chantel, thank you for making it. And Chastity, thanks for joining us. So the job is a means to an end. So you know you have a job if you kind of live for the weekend, you live for your days off, you live for the vacation, you just tolerate what you're doing because you know that there's some relaxation and a different focus coming. So the job is just the paycheck, really. It's just the paycheck. Hey to Tom and Linda and Kyla. Thanks for joining me. Thanks for all the hearts, you guys. That's really awesome. And shout out to those of you on Instagram over here. Thanks for joining me as well. So the job is just the paycheck and waiting for the weekend or waiting for the days off and waiting for the vacation. The career. And I want to talk about that because I was so wrapped up in the career. And I think that the dissatisfaction with how the career is set up just didn't go with what I was about. The careerist, and I think a lot of us in the medical field are kind of brainwashed into being careerists. It's not the nature of the work that we thrive for, but it is the way the system is set up. You're always supposed to achieve something else. You're supposed to, as soon as you achieve one thing, then you're set up in that system to have to achieve something else. There's always another goal to make, another hoop to jump through. I always call it, you never get to arrive at the station because it's a continual learning process. So once you get your ADN, then you have to go and get your BSN and get that little bit of extra money or recognition. And then after that, you have to get your MSN. And then after that, you have to get your PhD. So you never get to fully say, I've done enough, or I'm an expert. Even if you've been in the medical field for 30 years, you cannot say that you're an expert because you haven't gone on and gone on and gone on to this higher level of advancement and training. So the careerist, the work doesn't necessarily stop, and it's always in progress. And so when we finally get to the end of the line with the careerists, like the PhD, and then suddenly things stop, we suddenly become like dissatisfied or disillusioned, or there's an emptiness because we have nothing forward to achieve, and no one is pressuring us to achieve that goal, because once you get your PhD, it's then the end of the line, you know. But by then, you know, you're probably at retirement by then. So, and it doesn't necessarily utilize your unique gifts or your unique talents. Hey to Jay Ross and Kim and LaShonda, thanks for joining me. And Ricky Elkins says, amen to that. And a shout out to Shelly. And Ken, thanks for joining me tonight, Ken. And I want to do a special shout out to Barbara Bacon. If any of you know Barbara, she has a Crystal Crazy gemstone shop on Facebook. So, and the stones that you get from Barbara have such wonderful energy. So if you're serious about gemstones and you want some really good specimens, hit Barbara Bacon up there on the comments and ask her about her shop. And also, I want to do a special shout out for Ken Boggle. He has a show on haunted.space, and it is Tarot Date with Ken Boggle. You all should go on there and watch it. It's really, really a good show. And I want to shout out to Patty O'Brien as well. I hope the weather is okay where you guys are at tonight. Misty Mays, Rob Abbott, and Teresa Roughton, thanks for joining me. So let's get on to the vocation or calling. So a vocation, or the sole purpose or the calling, is based on something you do for yourself. It's something that you have personally vested yourself in and you believe in, and your energy is connected to it. And so a lot of people will start to do a vocation or a soul purpose kind of on the side because it's a calling. They're called to do it and they're drawn to do it. And they will even do this activity without being paid for it. Now, the best of all worlds is if you get paid for your vocation or calling. And I was lucky enough to realize that 25 years in ICU nursing and nursing administration was a career and not my vocation or my calling. So my vocation or my calling was to do what I'm doing now. And so I started it out on the side. So I always did this on the side. And then one day in 2013, I decided to make that big shift. And so each time I work with a client and I am, you know, guiding them through making that break from a career or a job to a vocation, I'm definitely a person who can say, yes, I've been there and I've done it. So I can, you know, have that personal experience to share with them, because it isn't easy. There are no guarantees, and you really have to work harder than you would at a career or a job because your energy is vested in this project. Okay, so why do we want to pursue a vocation or a soul purpose? Well, for the first thing for me, and I don't know about you guys, but the first thing for me was self-actualization and to derive some kind of meaningful purpose to your life. And to me, that is leaving a legacy. What kind of legacy do you want to leave behind? What do you want people to remember you by? And that's creating the purposeful life, okay? You want to also challenge or test yourself to see what you're capable of. What is your potential? You know, you want to challenge yourself and see how far you can go with your vocation or your soul purpose. And that's part of that is developing and maximizing your potential. So what is your potential? Exactly how much could you do? I know there's lots of people, and sometimes, you know, you sit and watch people on TV and you, gosh, it would be nice to do that or whatever. You have the same potential as they do, but they're in the process of this self-actualization, and you may be still stuck in the job or the career. So this whole series that I'm doing on this is sort of to give you a little push out the door, so to speak. Let me do a couple shout outs. Hey to Kristen, Jean, Debbie, Scott, John, Leslie, and Elisa, and Ina. So Debbie Thompson says, love your backdrop. So I have to mention the backdrop. Okay. So question, put it in the comments. What movie do you think that this backdrop looks like? It's an old movie. It's an old movie. It's science fiction. I'm going to give you some hints. Science fiction. But this is actually a back alley in Tokyo. So what I like to look at and dream of is some, you know, ramen shop back there. You know, just walking down the alley at night and discovering a little ramen shop or a little dumpling shop or something. That just takes me away. Hey to Teresa and Divine over here on Instagram. Thanks for joining me. Wes says, one of the benefits or why we should pursue a vocation is to give back to humanity. Absolutely, Wes, that you are straight on with that. And that actually feeds into this self-actualization and challenge yourself with your potential to see how much that you can actually give back. So thanks for the likes on the backdrop. This is, and I put some LED spring lights on here that are pink. I love them to death. And they're just kind of fun. So thanks for liking this stuff. Misty Mays says, rush hour. I'm going to go ahead and tell. And I'll lean aside. Look at this building here. Does that not look like Blade Runner? Does this not look like Blade Runner? I know that's an old movie. So yeah, to me, I'm just like right there in Blade Runner, and it makes me want to go back and watch the show. So another thing that your vocation or soul purpose will teach you how to do is how to develop motivation. And that's one of the biggest things that this does, is it makes you a self-starter, self-motivating, but you're going to have that to challenge and go for this soul purpose, because you're going to have a lot of competition. You are your own person, and even though you'll have competition, they're best at their things, and there's going to be a separate populace that's interested in that. But your soul purpose is so individualized, and your vocation is so individualized that you really won't have anybody uniquely like you. So Trina says she loves Blade Runner. I did too. Hey to Brandon, and hey to Paige Denise. So one of the other things that's why we should pursue vacation is because when we're happy, when we are more positive, when our body resonance is in the positive range and we're doing what we're supposed to do, we're happy and we're more healthy. Okay, if you're miserable and you are ignoring your calling, what this does is it creates anxiety, restlessness, headaches, neurological problems, depression, and people are more prone to bursts of anger because they're constantly under pressure, and they can feel that tug back and forth between either the career, the job, and the soul purpose. And that can actually just tear you apart. So those are the reasons why we need to pursue the soul purpose. So the first thing that you need to do is to be aware of what you are, what's unique about you, what is your biological capacity. Now, obviously, at 57, I'm not one that's going to be an athlete anymore like I used to be when I was in my 20s. So I have biological limits. So, you know, even though my soul really wants to go rock climbing again, that's not going to happen. So I know and I'm aware of my biological limits and capacity. Another thing is you need to be aware of your temperament, okay? Are you a person who likes being around people, who really likes working with people, or are you a more solitary, works better by themselves type of person? You really need to know of your temperament, because your calling involves your traits, you know, what benefits you can share with society. Temperament is certainly going to be figured in there. So like if you're a type person who does more work well by themselves, you may want to look for your calling in things that are worked solitarily, like if you were working in a factory putting parts together by yourself in an area. That might be something that really goes with you and your energy, because you may really like to just focus on that one thing and not be bothered with people. So you really need to know what your temperament is. Also your constitution, and then, you know, are you more suited to outside work? Does your energy really like to be outside? Are you the type of person who wants to be behind a desk? If you're a person who really needs the fresh air and outdoors and to work outside, and you try to put yourself behind a desk, that's a recipe for misery right there. Hey, over here to Suzanne and Sense of Self on Instagram. And a shout out to the UK. So yeah, we're talking about how to find your soul purpose and your vocation. So the first thing, you need to be aware of who you are and what you are. The next thing you need to do is, since we can't be, you know, we can't really see ourselves as other people see us, you need to ask your family and your friends to evaluate your best traits and your best talents. So what you want to do is get several people to ask them, what is it about me that you think stands out? Or what do I bring to the table that brings you joy? You know, are there things about me that are special? Are there things about me that you seek out or you want to have help from me on that I can do for you? What kinds of things am I best at? Sometimes only a third party is best at seeing these type of things. So you've got to find out from someone else what your best talents are, and then really be, you know, not critical about evaluating that. So let me check for any questions here. So Misty says this is why she just started her own business, all the above. And Rob said, are soul purposes the same as life themes chartered before we enter into this incarnation? Kind of, sort of, Rob. We all have a life theme. Like, you know, my life theme is a helper. So like nursing, and what I'm doing now as a psychic medium is a helping type of life theme. Now, one of the big misconceptions about vocations or soul purposes is that there's only one thing that you're supposed to do. That's not true. You're going to look at your talents. Like, I have a talent for helping people. I have a talent for, you know, counseling and that kind of thing. Now, you can plug that into many different vocations. It's not just one vocation. It is what you're vested in at the current time. Like, for example, in the next life, maybe I'll be a food blogger. And so, you know, maybe I'll do nothing but reviews and helping on people finding food and really, you know, enjoying going out to eat. So, you know, that vocation is the calling, and it can be different at different times in your life. So the vocation, you want to be yourself. Sometimes in a career or a job, you feel like you have to prove yourself, and then you get all the judgment that goes along with it. And you want to find your soul purpose totally within yourself. So take this opportunity to have your family and friends write down the things that they think you're best at, then take a really good look at it and say to yourself, do I see myself as that? I think once you really start looking at it, you probably will. Another thing about the vocation or soul purpose is that it produces satisfaction, and you suddenly become satisfied. You're not constantly seeking another degree or a higher step like the careerist does. You're not so miserable in the job that you suddenly, you don't want to wait till the weekend, and you don't want to wait until the vacation because it just doesn't satisfy as much anymore. It doesn't fix what's going on during the week at work. Let me check for questions. Hey, Declan, Kathy, Pamela, and Lori. So Debbie says, motivation, it seems like that would be an easy thing to have once you identify what your soul purpose is. Right now, she's struggling with this. Can't seem to come up with one thing to focus on. That's where the information from your friends and family can come in really handy. Once you really isolate what your talents are, then you can kind of plug them in. And like I said, be aware of what and who you are. You know, what your biological capacity is, what your limits are, what your temperament is, what your constitution is. Write it all down, take a really good look at it, and then look at the possibilities. All right, so let me check our time. We've got a few more minutes. Let's start into the things that stop us, because it's not that we don't want to engage in the vocation or soul purpose, but there are so many reasons why we talk ourselves out of it. And I did this for a good 3 years before I decided to make the break. Hey to Gary, Wayne, Jessica, and let's see, we have some more questions. Debbie says, identifying things about myself that would be beneficial to others, then rolling those things into something I would enjoy doing day after day. I have skills that I enjoy, but not something I want to do day after day. I think the motivation will come once I identify what my purpose is. And then Ricky says he loves being a nurse, pays the bills, but he loves photography, and working for the newspaper gets me away from the hospital, opens up my creative side. Ricky, that sounds like a vocation for you. And, you know, I worked this business of doing readings and everything on the side for a good 30 years before I decided to make the break. And so, Ricky, that would be something that you could work on the side and maybe even build that up a little bit more. And eventually that could be your retirement job, or you could just make the break from nursing over to that. Debbie, one thing I have to say about finding what your soul purpose is, like I said, and like a lot of the information that I found, no one can tell you what your soul purpose is, but you can have help being guided to it. The soul purpose is something you've always been interested in. It's something you're always talking about to people. It's something that when there's a new development in that field or that area, you're right on that, and you are reading all about it and finding out about it. You never get tired of talking about it. You seek out people that share that similar interest with you. And usually it's something that's carried through your life. Like it's, carried from young adult or teenager even, or maybe even a childhood into adult years. It's an interest, or like I said, it's the calling. It's something that pulls at your energy that says, if I had a couple of $1 million, but in order to keep the money, I had to do something to work, what would you do? Let's see, if I gave you $2 million and said, here it is, and you get to keep it, but you got to work at something, what would you do? And that gives you a big clue as to what your soul purpose would be. Hey to Joyce, Heather, Kyle, and let's see, Wes says another reason not to act is fear of failure. Yes, so we're going to go into that, Wes, on part 3. Some of the things that stop us: fear of failure, distracting yourself. Okay, we do a lot of this, distracting yourself with other activities. I'm too busy to do this. I'm too busy to get involved with this. Playing sour grapes is one. When you convince yourself you didn't want that vocation anyway, because you have to justify in your mind why you're not doing it. So, hey to Trisha Langley. Heather has a comment. Yay, great topic. Oh, thank you, Heather. She needs to watch this from the beginning. Yes. And nursing is horrible for being a careerist type of thing. So she's a nurse. She wants to move into preventative empowerment health, CBD oils, essential oils, and healing herbs. Heather, you can certainly put together something like that. My suggestion on that would be to put together a resource, like a resource blog on the best places to buy the products. We have a lot of people these days that are interested in these type of things, but they really don't know where to go, what the best products are, what is, what's the latest on how they work and where to get these things, what's reputable, what's tested. So Heather, start a blog on resources for people on this. If you start it now, maybe later you would be able to transition into your own business on doing that. And there's, if you get a big following, Heather, there's money to be made on blogs these days. So that would be something that I would look into. Hey to Julie, and Elisa says she would keep doing exactly what she's doing, training dogs. And Elisa has a vocation. She loves what she does. She has a dog training facility in Lake Cumberland. Excellent place to take your dog and get trained. Highly recommend. And so she's doing her vocation or her sole purpose. Hey to Anity over here on Instagram, Yasmin and Donna Hayden. And Paul Manning Jr., thanks for joining me this evening. So I'm going to stop there for tonight because the episode 3 is going to be all of the things that stop us. And then I'm going to do a quick rundown of how I particularly made the break from nursing administration to full-time psychic medium. It wasn't easy for me because it was scary, it was really scary. Thank God I had David to support me as far as yay, rah, go, 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 because I'm such a workaholic and I want to be self-sufficient that I didn't want to borrow any money from him or depend on his salary. I wanted to do it all by myself. So I put a lot of pressure on myself to rise to the occasion and not have to depend financially, but I did get a lot of support emotionally and psychologically from David. And so now that we've mentioned David, I'm going to ask, what's for dinner, David?
Tonight we're having homemade chicken and shrimp dumplings that Kat made. Yay!
Yay!
And The original Bijou cocktail recipe.
I have to make I've already drank mine. I've already drank mine. Well, it's not all the way gone, but
No.
this thing will kick your butt. So I had to put it down so I could do the show.
Nighty-night.
Night-night, you guys. Kisses from Kentucky. And I'll see you next Monday for part 3. It's March the 5th for part 3 of Vocation and Soul Purpose. And then, let's see, the next week, March the 12th, I've got a special guest coming on the show with me. Her name is Lyric Sosby. And we're going to talk about third eye opening, what it means to open your pineal gland. And so I will see you next Monday. You guys have a fabulous week. Bye, guys.